Thank you so, oh no, thanks so much. Thank you so much. I gotta go, bye.
That was Merritt Weaver of Showtime's Nurse Jackie giving one of the shortest Emmy acceptance speeches on record. Sadly, the News Hub didn't win last night, but at the 65th Primetime Emmy Awards, there was a mix of familiar faces and newcomers and a whole lot of surprises. For more on who won and who lost, we're joined by TV Guide Editor-in-Chief Mickey O'Connor. Good morning, Mickey. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, you know, I got to say, I'm a sort of dyed-in-the-wool Breaking Bad fan, so
Yep.
I was happy to see them win. But all up, some surprises in there as well.
For
yeah?
sure. I mean, I think that, you know, Breaking Bad in itself was a bit of a surprise because Homeland has been so dominant. But I think it was their year. They definitely had the momentum. They were showing new episodes all throughout the voting period. So I think that they really had, you know, the edge this year. So that wasn't so much of a surprise. It wasn't so much of a surprise that Claire Danes won for Homeland. But, you know, then you looked at some of these other categories. Jeff Daniels winning for The Newsroom came out of nowhere. Everyone assumed Bryan Cranston would win it for Breaking Bad.
People lost some money on some office pools last night.
Exactly. I don't think anyone made. I don't think anyone made any money this year. But I mean, Tony Hale won for Veep, which is, you know, kind of a relatively small cable show that is hilariously funny, and I'm a big fan. But, you know, came out of nowhere to beat much more established performances.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, less of a surprise, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, if you sometimes
best actor in a comedy role,
sometimes actors have a relationship with the Academy, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus is one of them. She's won Best Actress for 3 different shows that she's been on, including The New Adventures of Old Christine, which, you know, you couldn't really call a very prominent show. You know, I mean, I think that she's sort of an Emmy darling, if you will, and so she won. But then, you know, there Bobby Cannavale for Boardwalk Empire. That was a bit of a surprise as well.
HBO in general did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, they dominated last night. I mean, also in the miniseries movie category, there was the biopic about Liberace, Behind the Candelabra, which won all sorts of awards and led to a very funny acceptance speech by Michael Douglas. But yeah, it was HBO and Showtime both did really well.
In general, it seems the cable networks trouncing the TV networks. There are very few nominations for them. The networks, that is.
Yeah.
And what does this tell us about sort of the shifting landscape of television? And of course, the other big one, you know, Best Director going to House of Cards. Netflix finally getting a say in here.
I mean, I do always say that I think that people vote for stories, and I think that it was clear that people wanted to vote for a Netflix property in some way. They wanted to say, like, this is the year of Netflix. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Spacey came close to winning that award. But yeah, so I think David Fincher's a big Hollywood director. You know, he's done all sorts of big movies, and so for him to say, put his, you know, imprimatur on, you know, Netflix's programming, it says something, and so I think the Academy was kind of like, we're hip to this new trend and we're going to vote for it. So.
I suppose that the cable's less of a new trend, but it certainly still speaks to our times, right? I mean, again, HBO, Showtime, all doing very well, and the networks nearly not much of a show.
I mean, I also think that, you know, I think that cable has it a little bit easier in a way. You know, they can swear, they can, you know, show nudity, and I think that they can be a lot edgier overall. So I think that, you know, when it comes to an artistic award, they have a lot more freedom. And, you know, I also think that, you know, they deserve it. I also think that cable shows are generally better, not just for those reasons, but you know, there's still some great stuff on.
And Emmys don't always correlate very well with ratings, though, right? I mean, or do they, once they're in, start to sort of get some momentum and put some pressure on the network?
No, I think generally they don't really correspond with ratings. You know, like I said, you know, we're talking about a show like Veep. I mean, it's a great show and it's hilarious, but I think that if you were to look at their numbers next to something like The Big Bang Theory or, you know, Modern Family,
both of which did pretty well last night as well.
Yeah, Jim Parsons won for Big Bang Theory, and Modern Family won Best Comedy, I think, for the fourth time. I think that they tied, or not tied, but the only other comedy to have done that is Frasier in the 90s, actually won 5 times in a row. So they have one more year to tie the record. But
And one last, Stephen Colbert upending Jon Stewart
Yeah,
after
I mean,
10 consecutive years as
Yeah,
best
talk
variety
about a
show.
streak.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of touching that his speech was actually, in many ways, a tribute to Jon Stewart, and and also his late mother, who died recently. But yeah, I mean, I think that this was a year of sort of a lot of upsets. The Voice also won in the category that The Amazing Race has won for a million years, and so yeah, a lot of surprises for sure.
An interesting round. Thank you very much for your time, Mickey.